my Tiny was like a complete disaster. It was like the worst Tiny performance of all time. Don't watch that game.
I don't think you're the only one that remembers that. Jabs. I think you're remembering that well.
From the outside looking in, it just looks like the most successful you could possibly be without winning a single event. So I guess
that is what second place at every event means.
True.
For this chapter, we are moving forward after TI 2022. We're coming to have a new member of Team Liquid, Nisha, joining the squad. Nisha, I feel like I have to ask, on Matu's behalf, why didn't you join a year earlier?
I was under contract, and yeah, but that's it.
That's fair enough. What made you ready to join this time around? Contract done?
Yeah. What?
What made you ready to join? Like, did you?
Yeah, I mean, I was out of the contract, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was ready for some new team.
New environment,
Yeah.
new team.
Yeah.
Here also with Jabs joining us again and Aiden as well. The year that we're about to start was a fairly interesting one. Nisha, did you feel like you joined a team that was already up and running? Of course, this is a team that you just beat at TI when you came second and Team Liquid came third. Did you feel like you joined a well-oiled machine?
I wasn't exactly sure, because their year was looking a bit shaky before the TI run, but that run like made me more confident, obviously. And I knew that even if I join, we would like work towards where I wanna see them be, kind of.
Is William like the excellent salesman or something? What is Team Secret, rebranded as Team Liquid Academy? Like what's happening here that you guys are all joining this roster without? That's the most convincing results.
I think that's William. He like approached me on the like after party, and like I'm easy to buy, I guess. But obviously there was like Zai here, and I like the vibe, and I like the playstyle as well. So it was kind of natural.
Yeah, one thing that that Team Liquid lost with Matu leaving is the drafter leaving and saying that you just handed the reins over in drafting style to Matu. With him leaving, what was the talk with the team? Because Zai took that up on himself together with Will, I believe, eventually. But how did that happen?
I think already at TI, like after the final day or whatever at TI, I think we were already talking about it. And Zai seemed excited to do the job, and William was excited to do the job with Zai. So I was like, yeah, feel free. I remember for me at least, like getting off the drafting position meant like a lot less stress and a lot just being happier in general. So I was quite excited to like continue that path.
You were like, take it, please.
Yes, I really don't mind. So yeah, no, that was fairly easy and straightforward conversation.
Yeah, and Jabs, after the rocky road that turned into a fantastic road of 2022, how did you feel about another year with the squad?
I mean, I was super excited because Nisha was like such an interesting addition, and I feel like we had just had this miracle run, and it felt like things were really on the upward trend. So I was just really excited going to the new season.
So, I mean, we talked with you earlier about kind of a down season during COVID, a bunch going on, personal issues and everything. And then you had the last season that was like the most roller coaster thing ever. Like, seems like you guys were pretty optimistic from what you're saying going into the new season with Nisha. Is that something where you guys were like, how about we have a less chaotic year? Like, let's not do that again. Or like, what was your reflection moving forward this season?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was like super rocky before and everything went up and down, but I feel like this run at TI really like unlocked something within us. Like it really showed us that we could be a good team, the team that we always wanted to be. And then getting Nisha in was like the cherry on top, because we like everything just fit immediately. And I think just vibe-wise, he was also just such a great fit to the team. So it just seemed that like now everything is good now, everything was so hard before and everything was a struggle, and suddenly it just felt like things just clicked and it just worked, and it was very nice. I did not think too far into the future. Like we would just take things tournament by tournament, but everything just seemed so much lighter and easier. Yeah.
It did at that point. I want to talk about that first event you guys did, and it went very well. Don't get me wrong. It was the Lima Major, just to refresh your memory, and it did go very well in Sania. You guys did incredibly well. A very long run, very deep run. What do you remember about that one?
I mean, I remember lead up to Lima for me was, I think I played 100 games of Treant and like 50 games of Undying, and I felt like I cannot lose if I am playing one of these two heroes. They felt so unbelievably broken that I just felt like all I want to do every day is I want to wake up, I want to sit down, I want to queue Dota, I want to pick Treant, I want to pick Undying, and I just want to like play these two heroes. And then in our officials, I just got to play Treant and I got to play Undying, and like life was peaking. So like you just pull up to these officials, play the two most ridiculously broken laners of all time. So remember how I told you I needed like better heroes? Like at this point, it had like clicked, you know, like I had found the things that Mate wanted, and now I could provide them for Mickey, you know, like Mate was gone, no more problems. Like now, Mickey, here you go. I will serve you the best fives ever. So I don't know. Lima Major just felt like, I mean, that boot camp going into it was, I think, one of the most incredible boot camps we've ever had. So we usually very often like have very poor scrim results. But I think in this boot camp, I think over the course of maybe like 10 days, we lost maybe one game. And it just felt like Dota was like so easy, so simple, so straightforward. And I think the biggest difference for me is was playing with Matu. It was always like, I felt like I'm always stressed that this guy's gonna do something and he might just like die, you know, level 1. And then I got Mickey back in my lane, who's like very consistent, like stable, made life easy. And then for Nisha, his team fighting, I was just like mind blown. Cause like, usually I would really look at Mickey like in the fights to see like what's going on and when he needs to be saved. But with him, I kind of like didn't, like I was looking, and then at some point I was just like, you know, why am I even bothering? Like he's fine. He's gonna do his thing. It's all good. So just, yeah, Dota felt very, very stress-free at this time.
Nisha, do you remember that period and that boot camp and that major?
Not really. I think all I remember is us getting crushed in finals. That's all there is.
The true Dota mindset.
That is like...
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one that remembers that. Jabs. I think you're remembering that well. Just for reference, during this major, the final day or second to final day, on the Saturday, Boxy had to go home, health issues. Jabs, you were called upon to stand in.
Yeah, it was quite exciting because I feel like we came into this tournament. I never felt like we were that good ever. Like Eden said, I think the boot camp was like perfect. I think Zai was also taking over the captain role in a really nice way. And yeah, so midway in the tournament, out of nowhere kinda, at least for me, Boxy like spoke to Chloe and the team and said that he was not feeling good. We kinda asked him a little bit more because we weren't entirely sure how like severe it was. We ended up, speaking to some friends who were like in medical fields to get some advice, and then we ended up taking him to the hospital. And then it became quite clear he has to go home. It was for sure the best decision. And of course, it was a hard decision because it felt like we were on top of the world. It felt like no one could beat us with like the 5 players playing. And suddenly I was kind of stuck in this position where there was no other option than for me to play. Luckily, I was kind of in an okay shape back then. So I was super nervous having to stand in because I had never played like a LAN like on this level ever. Suddenly I had to play the upper bracket finals. So yeah, that was kind of rough, but the team made it super easy, to be honest, for me. I think everyone was really supportive, and it was kind of, I guess it was like a funny situation because they just suddenly had to play with me and it was so unusual, and suddenly you don't really have anything to lose, you know? Like everyone just expects us to lose. Everyone, I think in the team probably thought we're gonna lose like all our games immediately. So when we ended up losing the first day, yeah, it was pretty rough, and I felt like I let the team down in a big way. I tried the best I could, but then Aiden and we were rooming at this event, and I think we just were talking, and he was, to me, very like motivational. Like he said, like, tomorrow we're gonna win no matter what, and he meant it. Like he really meant it, and I could feel it, you know. And then we got into that game the next day
Against
Talon, yeah, and we just played Dota, you know. And I got told, like, just do this and we'll be fine, you know. I got to play like my Ricky support. It was kind of funny because they ended up banning it in the second game. Back then there were only 2 bans in the first stage, I think. So it was really funny. We got Furion again. And yeah, I just played, I guess. And it was a really, really fun experience. I don't think I'll ever forget it. But it was more fun because we ended up winning a game, and it was more fun because the team was so supportive and they were all really nice about it. And then at the end of the day, yeah, we lost the finals. And I felt super bad because everyone was really down, because for, I think, you, Aiden, Mickey, and Boxy, it was also the first like major grand finals they'd ever played.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm sorry I ruined your first major finals, you know, but at least we had some fun, you know.
I mean, I don't think any of us felt like you ruined the final, so that's just all in your head. But no, that final was, I mean, we were kind of full sending it after like the first game. Like we lost the first game and we realized, you know, like this is probably not going to work out.
Yeah.
And then game 2, I remember I was like pushing William, like I really wanted to play Tiny. All right? And I'd like played it in pubs like the day before. As soon as I knew Boxer was going home, I was like, okay, I know what's going to happen and I need to play Tiny. And then I like practiced Tiny and it was going quite well. And then we played this gaming is gaming. And for whatever reason, we like fight on the rune. And I skill stun instead of my tree that I wanted to play, like that I'd played in all my pubs. And my Tiny was like a complete disaster. It was like the worst Tiny performance of all time. Don't watch that game. And then game 3, I think we were talking about like picking SF mid.
Yeah.
Like before the game even started, Nisha's like, I just want to play SF. And then we load into the game, and for some reason you end up playing AA, I think. Yeah. So it was a interesting major grand final.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I mean, at that point, you know, spoiler alert for history's sake, that was the beginning of the run of seconds against GG, and that was, you know, without your full roster, kind of some funny anecdotes during the series itself. Like, in DPC, you guys were beating Gaming Gladiators. You were most often getting first, going like 7-0 back then during the DPC seasons. And then on lands, Dream Leagues, and the 3 majors, you were struggling in grand finals. It was the Liquid versus GG year. How did that feel after getting to the second finals in Dream League, which was much closer, 3-2? Was there like leftover from the first loss, or was that like starting fresh there because of all the things we've been talking about?
I mean, I think the Dream League finals, it was the day of a patch. I'm pretty sure they just dropped some big ass patch.
They did.
The portals got released the day before.
Yeah.
So it was
final.
super chaotic, and I remember all the games were like a coin toss kind of. And I think the game 5 was also really close. I think back then no one was really, I mean, this entire scenario of us versus GG, it wasn't a thing yet, you know?
Yeah.
Like this, no one really thought about it. It was just like suddenly we're making these grand finals. And I'm pretty sure we were all thinking we're the better team. So back then, I don't think we really thought about it much. I think maybe it started becoming a thing in Berlin when we ended up against them in the grand finals yet again. And before it was always like, yeah, okay, we didn't make it because like we didn't have Boxy. Yeah, we didn't win because there was a new patch, you know, like there's all these factors. Like now we're gonna have like the real fair grand finals, best of 5, in a scenario where it's an even playing ground. And I think in Berlin, it was the first time where we then lost, and then it seemed like, okay, maybe like these guys are actually like just beating us because they're just beating us, they're better. But before that, I don't remember us ever really even thinking about it personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just got lucky in Berlin.
Do you get any active memories of the grand finals, not just Berlin, but Bali maybe as well, Nisha? Because that was 2 grand finals back to back, 1-3 against gaming. Do you get any active memories on that?
I'm like not strong with memories, to be honest.
Okay.
If you ask me about yesterday's pubs and like scrims, I can maybe say something, but I like push it everything
You
out.
blocked it for your memory.
Unless I win, maybe then I remember something. But losing, no.
Would you say that's a key skill for you as a Dota player? Because I think a lot of people carry negative mentalities from one game to the next. And
I think so, yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
I think he carries games. Like
What?
negative memories.
Me?
Yeah.
I carry all memories. It's not just negative. I can, like I was saying, this year was like, to me at least, is like the peak year. Even though we kept losing our finals, I feel like that year I feel like we had a way of making everything work, no matter how terrible something started off. I always felt like it's gonna work out in the end. Like we could enter group stage and we could be the worst team in the world. Like I think like Berlin, I think Zai's idea was that universal heroes are broken, and we should just pick 5 of them, and we don't need to overcomplicate things. So I think if you look at our drafts from at the start of the tournament, we're just picking like Mirana, Nyx, whatever is universal is getting picked mag, and like, funnily enough, kind of true, just
out.
very ahead of its time. Team too noob to like pick it up. But and then we just like adapted, and somehow we found a way to make our way to the finals. And I feel like that was like the entire year for me, where it was just, no matter how bad we were, I always felt like no matter what, we're gonna be in the finals, and we're probably gonna play gaming, and this time it's gonna be different. That was like my entire year was like, and this time it's gonna be different.
Well, I wanna move to an event that was a little different. EWC happened that year, massive prize pool. It also had 2 group stages where you guys had to start playing in the first group stage as well before moving to the second. So you guys had to play a lot of games again, just like the previous TI run. Do you feel like that kind of helped Jabs a little bit with the run up towards getting to the bracket, the extra games that you had to play there?
I think it's kind of similar to TI with the last chance. I think it's, if you get to play these games before, you're always kind of ahead in the meta because you're already thinking about the next step kind of. And teams that are just watching, they're always going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage because it's different when you watch. You just don't have that feeling for it. So I'm sure it made a big difference. To be honest, I don't even remember.
Don't remember that well.
The play-ins. I mean, I wasn't at the event in person actually. I was working that event from home. But I just remember that we kind of just have that momentum. And back then, like Aiden said, it felt like no matter what happens, you would kind of just not expect, but you kind of, it didn't seem that hard. Like it would always work out in the end. And it really did feel that way. So going into that tournament, even though it was the first year where we started doing so well, that feeling had set in. And I felt like, as long as we do the things that we do and like do it the way we've been doing it all year, it'll work out. And obviously it did again. But like I said, because I wasn't in person, for me it's kind of hard to talk specifically about this event. You probably have to ask Aiden because Nisha probably won't remember.
I want to know about you guys mentioned this vibe of no matter what, it feels like it's going to work out. I always thought of Zai as the player, like no matter what game you give him, he'll like make it work. And I'm wondering if you guys feel like his role as captain like influenced your mindset on this somehow, or like the way the team operated, or like what was different from previous years where you kind of had this faith in yourselves like throughout all these events.
I mean, it's part of it is probably just like, building the team and going like 3rd at TI, which was like the starting point, I guess, to like seeing our boot camp. The next boot camp, we're just like flawless, made it to the finals, felt like we should have won. Boxy had this thing, whatever, play the next DPC, win, play like Dream League, feel like we should have won. Like it's just like everything always just kind of worked. But like I said with Matu, I feel like it was he even said it himself, it was very simple to see how to play the drafts out. And the way he put it, like pick the easiest heroes in the game and easy game. And with Zai, I feel like it was just, nothing was ever really a problem. It was like, draft-wise, it just felt like it'll be, like there will be a solution to whatever problem we might see. So I guess in some ways that it also is reflective of his playstyle.
Yeah, and with that in mind, Zai doing that in the draft, I do want to also look at a moment or remember a moment, and I do think, Nisha, you will remember
No,
this one.
I think this one is the only one I remember from this tournament, like the Brood one.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
How do you remember that?
I mean, I was just spectating, I think, because I was
doing the
I was
Aiden,
definitely dead. I mean, I thought we lost the game for sure, but then, I mean, they did a couple mistakes, but obviously Zai cooked by himself, I think. Yeah, it was great to watch, and emotions actually were high once in a while. Oh, first time, kind of. Yeah, amazing to play, kind of.
Yeah, you say emotions that high for the first time in a while, because you've been on championships before, and this wasn't even a grand finals or anything. So how did that moment impact you?
I mean, this was like the first time it kind of happened for me, so that was different. Because like winning or losing is always kind of similar. You always see it coming in like 10 minutes before, so it's like not that sudden.
Yes.
But this was crazy. Like until like 5 seconds before the game ended, you could not tell who won the game, and us winning was such a relief, and like continuing the tournament, that it all came down like together.
Yeah, because you say you're watching, did you also see 23 Savage, or were you only watching the game?
I think I was only watching the game.
Okay.
I was not spectating my enemies, that's for sure.
I mean, to be honest, that would have been a quite funny view as well. But that was quite the roller coaster. It was also the event where you guys did manage to beat Gaming Gladiators, I believe, in the upper bracket?
Yes.
Were there any extra emotions with that victory over Gaming there?
I mean, so this entire year we were saying we will get them when it matters.
Yep.
This was like our, at first it was we're only losing because no Boxy, and then it was we'll get them when it matters, and now it mattered. So we had big problems playing against their TV. I remember their TV and their Alk was very problematic heroes for us. And I think in game 2 against they picked TB and we picked Legion Commander, which was like not really a hero we played. And Zai and Boxy absolutely smashed them. It was like they smashed them. I think me and Mickey played. We had this we thought they had no answers to Monkey King, so we played Monkey Rubik, and we smashed our lane, which was very rare, and like both side lanes were cooking. I don't know what
magically drew probably.
Drew. First time Quinn is not like 2 levels above my mid laner, so it was. I mean, I remember after that game, I for sure felt too happy. It was like almost like winning the event happiness.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we the next day, I think we played. Was it Talon the next round?
Yeah, I think so.
I think coming into it, I was a little bit like too high on like beating gaming feeling, and not coming into that series like sharp enough to start.
So you had those were your last 2 games of the upper bracket, and I feel like your copium was kind of evolving over the course of the year from what you were saying. Like now you're going into the grand finals, and you've got a new opponent, Team Spirit. Like, what was the team vibes, thoughts? Like, okay, we're in the grand finals, but now it's not against Gaiman. Is it going to be different this time? Like, what was going on there?
I mean, I remember thinking very much that like this was the final out of all of them that I felt like we were like the better team the most. Like out of the finals that we lost, we had like this Wisp-lesh idea that we've been running the entire event, and I felt like it was just imba. I felt like unless we like mess up, we can't really lose with it. And I think we won game 1.
Yeah, you Naga flex picked it for Zai that game specifically.
Oh, right. Okay, so Mickey at the time didn't like playing Naga Siren, and we thought Naga was very good. And then Zai was like, I'll just play it. I'll just play Naga offlane and it'll be fine. So they picked Void, if I'm right, and we played Naga into it. And then game 2, they ran it back. And then game 2 was kind of an epic game, I think. There was a lot of like buyback situation happening around Roche Pits kind of game. And then unlucky. And then I think game 3, we were like also doing really, really well with Wisp-lesh, if I'm not wrong. And we should have won that game. And then we didn't. And then
Unlucky
again. I think game 4 was maybe a little bit of like a mental collapse of our team, if I'm honest. I think we were not really in the right headspace to like come back in that final. So I remember, for me at least, I was very, very sad about losing this one. This one was like the one that I took the hardest. Usually like we go back as a team, but I just went to my room and kind of just like stared at the wall.
And I saw you nodding along, Nisha. Do you remember that finals as well? And when the mental collapse or
not at all. I mean, I remember outside and like the talks after the game, but not necessarily the games. And like, I can see it. Also, did we play like lower bracket before that?
Yes, we played Spirit in the upper bracket final, and we lost 2-1. But in fairly, I'd say, competitive games, I think this series is actually rare case. I don't actually remember the drafts.
That's fine. I mean, if the emotions is what stays, you know, that's in the end what matters.
I mean, the only other funny anecdote I have about this final was, so every time you play grand final or like any official, you have to like turn off friends list. Yeah. So you can't like message each other. But I realized you can send gifts to each other. So I was sending gifts to Collapse with like, you know, like, we're gonna smash you. And then he would like send the gift back and it would just say like, no Medusa, no win. And we just have this like banter between the games, which was like quite fun.
It sounds quite fun. Unfortunately, you guys were on the receiving end of that one.
I got more gifts than he did.
Not a title once again, but then you move into the international. And this international was actually pretty successful, right?
Yeah, I mean, you ended up getting 5th, 6th, but it was effectively a 3rd, if you want to say that, because you lost to the 2 teams that won the turn, or like got 1st and 2nd, Gaming Gladiators as well as Spirit. I guess, you know, you were mentioning it felt like the smoothest year for you guys, and you mentioned that like, from the outside looking in, it just looks like the most successful you could possibly be without winning a single event. So I guess
that is what second place at every event means.
True. So, like with that in mind, did it feel like a successful year? I guess is the way you look at it. Like obviously on paper, second's great, but from your guys' mentality coming out of TI, you mentioned staring at the wall after Riyadh.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year was, you know, better than the next year, and we won TI in the next year, so I would say it's pretty good.
Is that just because of the year, the whole? You look at the year as a whole.
I mean, for me, it was like the feeling that I had in the team and the year and like how things felt, and if I'm being completely honest as well, like the amount of effort we put in compared to the results that we got.
Sure.
It felt very easy. It felt very smooth. It felt very simple. It felt just very, very nice. It was like a very nice year to be on Team Liquid. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a great end note. A nice year to be on Team Liquid, but no championship yet. For that, we move on to Chapter 5.